Hi, good morning, Healthy Living OKC. This is Stephanie here from my office at Healthy Living OKC. We're doing things a little bit different today, which is great. We've got Cindi Morris here today. She's in Woodward. I'm here in the center, so we're going to do a recorded Zoom conference call where Cindy's going to be able to share a little information about our Medicaid program and how whether you or a loved one might need some help, whether long-term care help through the Medicaid program. She's going to discuss a little bit more about the different aspects of this. Cindi comes to us. She's a program field representative from the Adult and Family Services at DHS, and so she's kind of the go-to person if any of the workers have a question on policy. She's the one they're going to turn to to kind of get those questions answered. So we're really happy to have her here today to kind of share some of her information with you. If you do have questions while you watch this, we will post some links in our Facebook, which is where this will be posted, of course, and you'll be able to contact her with your questions, and also she can help get you in connection with the person who's going to be able to help you if you need to process an application. So we'll go ahead and turn it over to you, Cindi. Thank you so much for being here today and for doing this weird technology Zoom call. It's going to be great.
No problem. It's, I guess, the way of the future. So
yes,
we need to embrace it and go forward. So
absolutely.
Anyway, I've been with DHS for 21 years. I've worked with the long-term care program for 12 years as a worker and then a supervisor, and now at the state office level with the Health and Medical Related Services Unit, which we answer questions to the public if they have questions and they don't know who to contact or they don't have an application yet. We help the workers across the state if they have policy related questions or processing questions. So we're just kind of here to help with the not only the long-term care, but the regular Medicaid that maybe for adults that don't need long-term care yet or children. So we're kind of here to help with a lot of different things, but my specialty is the long-term care. So I'm going to share my screen and kind of give you an overview of what is considered long-term care and what is available if you qualify. So here is our updated information. Part of the services, we have Advantage Waiver and Personal Care, which are services provided in the home. The Advantage Waiver is a higher level of care, which is basically there to help keep you out of the nursing home and in your home for as long as possible. The state personal care is a lower level of care that people need maybe just with some light housekeeping, some assistance with, maybe getting groceries, things like that. So they're not in the level of care where you would need nursing home requirement within 30 days if you didn't get that assistance. Then it talks about, this screen talks about what is provided if you meet the medical level of care for these services. These are a few of the services that would be offered for personal care and the Advantage Waiver. So you can kind of look at those and see maybe what your needs are and which category that falls into. There's also a different level of income for both of those, but we'll get to that here in just a little bit. We also have facility services, which means that it is in a nursing facility, either for skilled care or long-term nursing care, depending on the level of care and what you currently need, whether it's rehab or if it's going to be long-term remaining in the nursing home because you are not able to go back home. Then on program eligibility factors, once you make application, then the worker will determine if you're an Oklahoma resident, if you fall into the age group for the services that you're requesting, which you either have to be aged which is 65 and older, blind or disabled as determined by Social Security. And then you could possibly categorically relate, is what we call it, if you have a minor child in your home. But those are more specifics, so that is something that you could ask either myself or the local office when you make application, and they can get into more details on that stuff. Now this is going to be the more important part. You know, you first have to meet the categorically eligible relationship, is what we call it, to move forward to determining whether you meet the income and resource standards. So you've met the first step, which is the categorically related. Now we're looking at financial eligibility for Advantage Waiver or personal care. The current income guidelines for the Advantage Waiver is if your income is less than $2,349, then you're good to go as far as income standards for the Advantage. If it is over the $2,349, but less than the $5,462, then you could still qualify. There's just an added layer that would need to be done, and that you would have to have a Medicaid income pension trust account. And I know all this is very confusing and overwhelming. So if you fall within that income range, you might want to just, call or contact us, and we can explain that a little better. The personal care is a lower income standard, mostly because you're going to give less benefits because you're not in the higher level of care category. So the current income standard for that is $1,064 for an individual, and then for a couple, it would be $7,860. And as you can see, the resource standards are higher for the personal care than they are for the Advantage. The Advantage resource level is $2,000 for the individual that is applying, and we'll get into a couple's resource standards here in just a minute also. To get into the application process, first you would make the application with DHS. There's their local DHS, and then there's also the AAU number there. And then I will also provide additional information to Stephanie with my email address and the online information that she can provide you in the Facebook post. On our income, we look at the gross income. If you're Advantage or nursing home care, it is the gross income for the person applying for the benefits. Their income is the only income that is viewed and looked at for the eligibility process on those. We do look at the spouse's income if the spouse is going to remain in the home and the other one is going into the nursing home, to see if maybe we could possibly deem some of that income of the person going into the nursing home back to the person that's remaining in the home. So they'll be able to have enough money to cover their bills like they did when both parties were in the home. Again, we can get into that a little more too if they have specific questions. We do look at what we call his, hers, and ours as far as resources go. By that I mean, if the husband has a bank account in his name only, the wife has one in her name only, and a joint account, or any other resources that is individually or jointly owned, we have to look at his, hers, and ours to determine the resource eligibility. So we don't look at just the person that is applying for the benefits. Our look back period is 5 years, and that is a federal regulation that we have to do. We look to see if they have given anything away in the last 5 years that they didn't get fair market value for, or if they sold it, to make sure that they did get fair market value for that. That's a little more in depth also, so that's something that can be discussed more when they make application or call for information. Trust accounts. If something is in an irrevocable trust and has been in that irrevocable trust for 5 or more years, it will probably be exempt as a resource, but they would need to provide a copy of that irrevocable trust so the specifics can be looked at to make sure that nothing in that account would be considered a resource. So those are a case by case to make sure that all of the specifics are met in order for everything in there to be exempt. The main thing to remember is if you're going to transfer something, it has to be 5 years prior to making application, or it will have to be considered. We look at life insurance, burial policies, life estates, vehicles, property other than your home property, things like that. So the worker will give you a list of everything that is included in our resources. We don't normally look at your household furnishings or, dishes, things like that that you want to maybe give to your children. We don't normally look at things like that. That can be discussed a little more in depth also. So that is kind of everything in a nutshell. There is more specifics that we can address individually. And if there's anything else that you would like to talk about, maybe the home property. We do look at home property to determine whether that is in the couple's name or the individual's name, and see whether it's considered as a resource or not. The one thing that I need to stress is if someone has put their home in a living trust or a revocable trust, that property will be considered as a resource until the property comes out of that revocable or family trust, because it's not irrevocable. So that's something that a lot of people may have done, thinking that they were going to make it easier for their children or other family members to have that set up in case they pass. It would be easier to handle, but DHS has some different requirements. So if things like that have been done, we can always discuss that with the family and help them correct it to where it would not be counted as a resource.
Now, would they be able to contact you to do that before they get into that situation? Like, let's say they know right now their home is in a revocable trust. They thought it was safe there, but just planning their future, they want to move that to irrevocable to protect it. Is that something that they would be able to call and help with? To call you?
Sure, I can give you yes, they can either call me or email me, whichever is easier for them.
Mm-hmm.
And if I can't answer their question, I can get with one of our attorneys in our legal unit to verify what would need to be done. And then we can get that information back to the family so they can go ahead and start making their plans if they see something in the future is going to need to be done.
So kind of what I'm hearing is that you guys are there to help them plan and make sure that they get the services they need. But if they're concerned about, what they worked, I don't know, like you're working with them to help make sure that they are meeting eligibility requirements. Am I saying that right? Like it's not like
we're not in estate planning,
right.
Division, so we cannot give advice on estate planning.
Mm-hmm.
We can give them advice on what our policy requires, and then they can go to their attorney or their estate planner and say, this is the policies that DHS gave us with the guidelines. Mm-hmm. What we want to do needs to meet these guidelines.
Got you. Okay. I have a real quick question about the Advantage waiver. Um, are they still allowing family members to partake in the Advantage waiver, like for like a grandchild to care for their grandmother, or is that not something that they do anymore?
They can do that. That's not done through DHS as
Okay,
far as that goes. The family member would have to be hired by the provider,
got
and
you,
then they could, probably be paid through that provider.
got you. Okay, I see. And then just one more quick question. In your slideshow, you had a number for the AAU. What does the AAU stand for? It might have been like slide
It's the
4.
aging services unit.
Okay, okay, got you. Um, I think that you covered all the other questions that I had in your slides. So again, for our members, make sure to check the caption for this post because we're going to have Cindy's information linked there, as well as some other information you might need if this is something you're interested in applying for. So thank you so much for your time today, Cindy, and hopefully we can work together again in the future, maybe when things return and we can see each other and do something in person. So thank you so much for your
Right.
time.
Yeah, that would be good. You're welcome. Thank you.
You bet.